looking at the commercial and industrial properties. Our sales ratio is currently showing that we're assessing them at 97.6% of market value. The residential properties, we're currently at 95.8% of market value. Agricultural land, I don't have all the numbers yet from the state, but it looks like the assessments are gonna go up 15% overall. I see a smiling face already.
Why not?
The good news is that the average increase statewide is probably going to be 25%. So when you run the numbers for the new rollback probably will take away most of that increase. So that's good from a farmer's standpoint anyway. The residential rollback looks like it's going to go up. It's currently about 48. It'll probably go up 3 or 4%, although that's strictly a guess at this point. The commercial, if you've been following the governor's ideas, he's looking to take the commercial rollback from 100% and phase it into some lower factor over time. And just exactly how that's gonna work, I think, is still up for grabs in the legislature.
Is there a time frame on that going to fruition there for the rollback on commercial?
That's up to the legislature, and they'll have to do something by the end of the session, which my understanding is they're not looking for an extended session, but I think some of the ideas that they're putting forward are going to encourage a lot of discussion. So I'm not sure exactly when it'll be. Sometime late spring would be my guess. Okay. Getting into our budget, I've put in 2.5% for salary adjustments. And I always get the question of, where did I come up with that? I try to tie that in with what other assessors are projecting to adjust around the state. And historically, the salaries in Scott County have been about the 10th highest in the state, and vary a little bit over time. I just printed out from ISAC how Scott County ranks in other positions, and the supervisors are also the 10th highest paid in the state. The county attorney is the 3rd highest, the auditor the 4th highest, the recorder the 3rd highest, the sheriff the 5th highest, and the treasurer the 3rd highest. So Scott County, compared to other counties in the state, is ranking right up towards the top. So I'm thinking that our assessors' salaries are in that same range. So give you something to compare to anyway. In the rest of the budget, news on health insurance. Scott County has been able to hold the line at least for another year. I'm not sure how long they can do that, but good news. So we didn't budget for any increase in health coverage. While the overall budget is it going up, the levy rate is essentially the same. So we're looking at no increase in the levy. And I'll entertain questions, I guess, after that, since my throat doesn't feel so great today. Are there any questions?
I have one, Dale. Can you explain line 48, the commercial services increase?
Okay. Commercial services is basically hiring an outside vendor to do some of our field work. And that's what what I've been doing is setting aside money for future projects. Because all of that money, in fact, probably none of that money will actually be spent in this next fiscal year, but it will be held in reserve for future projects. I should, and that's what we've been doing historically. We're going to do a project to revalue all commercial and industrial properties for 2013, and we basically have that money set aside for that project.
Why is that such a jump there, Dale, from 200 or 298 up to 408, as far as your estimated budget?
I put a little more in this time. We were, I guess, the question we had in the past was how many years in between a house-to-house or a door-to-door revaluation should we have? And we had been looking at 10 years. And we did a rural residential project that we're finishing up right now for the 2011 assessment. And we had waited 10 years on that. And we really found that there were a number of properties that we were missing information from. Historically, we've been going on a 6-year cycle with the commercial and industrial. And I think that's a more practical time frame. So I pushed a little more money into this year's budget so that within that 6 or 8 years, it's probably going to be closer to 8 years. But I'm hoping that 6 would make I would be able to pick up all of the items that we've missed in the past. So
That balance out on the revenue side?
Well, it's the levy rate stays essentially the same. And last year I lowered the levy rate. So it's, we've tried to be pretty conservative on that.
How much of an increase do we have in assessed valuation this year? I mean, what we have to tax on?
I don't have that figure with me. It's around 3%. Has Dee given you numbers on that yet?
I thought it was 3.5.
3.5.
Right, yeah.
I was gonna say 3.4. 3.5 could certainly be, and each taxing district is going to be a little different, but should be somewhere in that area. questions?